Hey, what's up? Welcome back to Saturday Garage. Today we're going to do a simple tune-up on the C10. You're going to hear a lot of stuff like this.
Oh my God.
And like this.
What is wrong with this truck?
Oh, and this too.
This episode took a detour.
Simple dimple.
So to start with, this video is going to be just a pretty simple tune-up on a big block. That is no longer the case. This episode is now, am I going to keep this motor in this truck? Yesterday, I filmed an entire day of attempting to tune it up, and what I ended up with was a bunch of memories of why I don't like this motor. Quick recap of yesterday's story. I set up the day telling you what I needed to tune out of this motor, what I needed to fix, which was this. One is that it takes forever to warm up. Two, I pulled one plug yesterday and it is carbon fouled. Like, it is bad. I'm going to pull the rest of them in a minute and we'll see how bad all of them are. Item three in this bad tune set is that it pings under hard acceleration. If I'm on the freeway and I just give it a quick stab, I'm calling it a ping, but it sounds just like it's more of like a teeny rattle. That's not a good sound or whatever it is. Well, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but it also hard started after it would finally warm up, and it would diesel off when I turned it off. So that's the bulk of it. I had previously checked a plug and I knew it to be pretty carbon fouled. I attributed that to the fact that I just, for the past couple of years, only moved it across the street, so I went and got a ticket. Cylinders never get a chance to warm up. Condensation builds, fuel settles, carbon deposits happen. So that's what I set out to do yesterday. To start with, I pulled all the plugs and I was reminded that, oh yeah, these plugs foul really quickly because there's oil all over them, not on the inside, only on the outside past the threads. On the exterior head side of the spark plugs, 6 of them were at least a little bit wet, a couple of them were very wet. Oh my God.
Ring seals much? Jeez.
It's dry on the threads, right? A little, crusty, a little sooty, but moist, oil moist on the outside. Why?
Just cooking everything on the inside and leaking past on the outside? I mean, just look at the ports and spark plug holes. They're all oily. What in the world? All right. Yeah, not cool. Not super cool. Here's what I'm seeing. Driver's side, fouled, and everything is at least a little bit wet on the outside of the heads, so traveling through the threads, and it's not coming from a valve cover gasket. It's coming from inside, up the threads, past the spark plug gasket, wet on every single one of them. Driver's side, not quite as fouled. The electrodes look a little bit better. The porcelains look a little bit better. Wet in the middle, not really on the outsides. I can explain very little of this, other than I'm going to do a compression test that I don't really feel like doing. I hate doing compression tests. So there's oil getting into a cylinder somehow. It's either a bad ring seal or it's bad valve stem seals. I don't think it's bad valve stem seals because those are pretty new heads. It's probably rings because when we got this motor, this is back in the Hot Rod Garage days, the engine builder who put it together for Tony, we found it a used motor in a box and some guy put it together for us. He told us verbatim, yeah, this motor's probably got a few hundred miles on it. It's got at least a few hundred miles on it, I believe, was exactly what he said. So we may have found the 100th mile. Now, 2 other things before I get into this. One is I set out to do this tune-up because in a couple of weeks I'm heading out to a video shoot for carsandbids.com. I've got some buddies that work over there and they invited me to come out to do some burnouts for them. I know it's at a drag strip. I don't know what else is really going on, but they asked me to do burnouts. They're paying me, and I have obliged because I get 2 things, money and burnouts. That's all. So thanks, guys. I will see you soon, assuming this motor will survive. And the fact of the matter is, if I blow it up there, all the better reason to outlast it. So, status update for the day. Of all of the problems that we set out to solve at the beginning of this episode, probably like 2 minutes ago, nothing has been solved. And we found another problem, and that has not been solved either, so. Super cool, loving that. Now, what I'm gonna do, now that I've just put spark plugs back in the oily holes, I'm just gonna tune it as it is. I will figure out compression and or valve stuff later, and or valve seal stuff later. But for now, I just need a better tune on the thing. Before I do that, the first thing I want to address is the it takes too long to warm up problem. So before I warm it up in order to tune it, I'm going to bring the fluid level down a little bit, the coolant level down a little bit, and I'm going to be really annoyed by this construction sound. I hope that you're not. Before I warm it up to tune it, I'm going to bring the coolant level down a little bit. I'm going to pull the thermostat housing. My suspicion is that when we put this thing in, we drilled a couple of holes in that thermostat itself to let some water bypass, some coolant bypass into the radiator. A lot of guys will do that to help the purge air when you're filling it and just give you a more complete fill if you're filling from the radiator. Now, I prefer to fill from the manifold and just get that block full first. If there are holes in that thermostat, or I assume that there are holes in that thermostat because it takes so long to warm up, my assumption is that rather than the thermostat holding back coolant as it's warming in the block, it's just letting that warm-ish, that cool to warm coolant seep past into the radiator, bringing more cold into the block and having to warm the entire supply of coolant and water versus just the amount of the block until that gets warm enough to open the thermostat, then let the fresh stuff in. So I'm assuming there's holes in there. I'm going to pull it and find out. If there's not holes in there, I'm going to be both annoyed that I pulled it apart and also curious as to why it is taking so long to warm up. But let's find out before we jump to frustrations. And also I'm going to assume that this very old ball valve is not going to pump anything out of here. And my petcock is sitting right on top of, I don't know, power steering lines or something. I don't want to drain out of there. This is dumb. Try this. So in addition to foul plugs and oily plugs, I had a nearly bone dry radiator. Wait, how low is this? Hold on. The radiator was half empty. Oh my God. It's at least halfway low. What is happening here? The block there was nothing in the manifold. It's barely moist down there. Oh, bad look for me. All right, I've got a single hole in there. It's not a ton, but it's definitely letting some coolant past. It's definitely slowing down my warm-up process. So I have a 180 degree thermostat here, which is good enough for my purposes right now. I don't know what this is. It's probably a 160. 180. This is a 180. I'm going to replace this with a fresh 180. But also this thing lives while driving at like 160, maybe 170 with half the amount of coolant that it needs. So color me confused. So whatever, I replaced the thermostat, I filled it up with water, and credit to Frostbite radiators. They kept this truck cool, like it never broke 180 ever with a cooling system half filled with air. So there's an endorsement for you. Ugh. What is wrong with this truck? Anyway, I replaced all the plugs. I didn't do a compression test because I didn't have compression testers with me. I'm not just ignoring the problem as much as I am being smarter about it. I don't think it's valve seals because these are newish heads. There's no reason for valve seals to be leaking. I don't think it's rings because 6 cylinders having bad rings all at the same time feels unlikely. I'm leaning towards a PCV system. I think that potentially these presumably cheapo aftermarket valve covers that we got are just allowing oil to be vacuumed through back into the carb rather than just the crankcase vapors, pressure, etc. A little bit of oil in there, but not like no grotesque amounts. Like that's nothing. Actually seems pretty good. That is dry. Determination, PCV is fine. There's little, if any, oil on the valve cover end and zero oil at all on the carb end, so it's not pulling juice through, or at least there's no evidence of it pulling juice through. And this baffle both exists, and it seems like it's not overly oily, and it's not pulling a bunch of juice through. So there goes that theory. Back to rings and valve seals. Or back to ignoring it, putting plugs in it, tuning it up, and then doing burnouts for a little while, and then figuring out how this thing gets better later. That might be the most likely scenario. It's a little dog, a little ladybird. Hello. You're still here, huh? Thanks. That's nice. That's nice. Slicker. Hello. Hello. Say hi to them. Friends. Friends. Paw? Yeah, girl. Yeah, paw girl. You're a paw girl. What do you think? Rings? Valve seals? Oh yeah, I'd run away too. I feel you. I feel you. Anyway, I reset base timing. I reset all the base tune on the carb. And it ran better. It stopped dieseling off. But the fact of the matter is that the plugs are still getting saturated with oil really, really quickly. So after I put everything away last night, I just got to thinking about story. And that's a bit of a habit I have from my TV days. The story here is not about, can I tune this thing up or what the tune-up is. The story is about, do I want to keep this motor? And like, I don't know, that's what we're gonna do today. So the only way that I can determine whether or not I want to keep this motor is to do a compression test. Ideally a leak down, but I don't have a leak down tester. So I jammed it down last night to the little shop that I rent from Lucky. And I have no leak down tester, but I do have 2 compression testers. So I'm gonna try to get through this as quickly as possible because compression tests are boring, both to watch and to do. I've already warmed this up. I'm now letting it sit so that all the oil drains back into the crankcase, not sitting on top of cylinders. I want to get a bad compressor reading if I'm going to get one, and then once I go all around, put a little bit of oil in there, get another reading. I just don't want to be artificially sealing these rings with the oil that is being drawn up while the thing is running. That's really what this is now. We are deciding today if this big block is worth attempting to fix. Is it fixable without spending a bunch of money? If I have to tear the thing down, I'm probably not going to do that, I think is where this is going to land. I don't know, you got any other thoughts? I'm happy to hear them, but I think this compression test is going to be fairly telling as to whether or not I keep this truck. Take that back. Oh, I take that back. Definitely keeping the truck. It's whether or not I keep this motor. And right now I'm leaning towards probably not. So yes, a bunch of dudes would be bummed out that I'm getting rid of the big block. I count myself among those bummed out dudes. And sure, everybody does LS swaps and I get it. And yes, I will be doing a 5.3 LS swap, which is about as pedestrian and as everybody does it as you can get. But here's some silver linings. 1, I already own the motor. It's a forged bottom end 5.3. It came out of the HRG Caprice. 2, I have everything that I would need already purchased to complete this swap. It'll be mostly free. That's good. 3, yes, run-of-the-mill LS swap with a 5.3 gets better with boost, right? Like I have the giant turbo from that Caprice. I'm not going to run that because I do not need 1,000 horsepower on this thing. But I also have a V3 supercharger from Vortec. So I think a supercharged 5.3 really goes a long way in softening the blow of getting rid of a big block. Sounds cool, fills up the bay better. I'll still run the 6L80 with it, and I don't know, I'd be pumped on it. I get a bunch of stuff off my shelves. I spend very little money, and I have a rad truck. It's a cool build, it's a cool end product, so I'm gonna even do this compression test. This might be a very short episode. I'm just gonna say ditch this big block and boost away a 5.3. JK, I'll do it. Okay. Okay, now looking at these side by side, we've got the old ones in the center row. We've got the new poles on the outer rows. Granted, there's not nearly as many miles on the ones that I just pulled. In fact, there's just some idle and revs on those. But like, porcelains all seem okay color-wise. They're like a nice beige with just some really dark tips. I don't know how well you can see that stuff. I'll get some inserts. But not nearly as oily and as fouled as the inside ones, right? New, old, old, new. So tune clearly seems to be a little bit better, but there's still, even on these newer ones, let's see what's a good example, just a bunch of oil buildup on the washer gaskets on a bunch of these plugs. So that's just what it is. We'll see what compression says. All right, compression test time. I've got two testers. I've got currently on 6 and 8. These cylinders are presumably dry because I've let oil drain back down through them. The throttle linkage is wire tied open because that needs to be such in order to minimize restriction through. So I'm gonna crank through all of these, doing 2 at a time. Dry, squirt some oil in, do it again wet. Okay, for starters, my dry numbers are not terrible, but not entirely encouraging. I've got a high of 195 on 2, 3 cylinders, and I've got a low of 140 on 1, 145 on 1. Okay, my highest number is 195 on these dry numbers. The other should be within 10%, right? So that makes it 176. Should be my next, or should be my farthest away low number. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 outside of that range. So that's not great. We're gonna drop some oil and we're gonna see what happens. Which way do I go here? What I'm doing here, clear hose. Maybe about a tablespoon's worth of oil into that hose. Blow it in so it distributes well. I don't know. It's a plan. That's the plan. That's how it's gonna work. That works. That's one. Test. Last but not least, where's my marker? Last but not least, cylinder 2, 165. 165 up 10, so whatever, substantial, but not that substantial. Let's go dissect, shall we? Let's go dissect some numbers. Yep. In conclusion, there's confusion. That's what I know. My dry numbers. Real easy to figure out. I had a high of 195. That should be no less than 19 pounds more than the lowest cylinder. The lowest cylinder is 50 pounds less than that 195. There's too much differential there to say that anything is good.
On the wet side, that's where the confusion comes in. There were a few of them that were within 5 or 10 pounds of the dry numbers, which seemed like good sealing cylinders. That additional oil did not seal that cylinder any better or not substantially better. I had a few that were 20, 30, and 40 pounds less than the dry numbers. I can't explain that. If you can, please feel free. So I'm just going to ignore those for now. The numbers that are telling to me, though, are cylinders 7 and 8, oddly enough, the two rearmost, that were 30 and 15 pounds higher with some oil in the cylinders than when they were dry. So those to me are poor sealing cylinders. Now, if I'm going to actually be a little bit more scientific about this, the entire passenger bank was pretty wet when I pulled the plugs out yesterday. But those are, okay, 8 is higher, 6 is 40 pounds lower, 4 is 30 pounds lower, and 2 is 10 pounds higher. I don't know. Honestly, it just means that I don't know. All I do really know, though, is that there are ring sealing issues, or that's where I'm currently landing, that there's ring sealing issues in here, and that I'm probably not going to expect this big block's going to last very much longer. I am honestly tired of messing with it. I've been messing with it on and off, and I had forgotten about my previous messes, but I've been messing on and off with it for too many years, and I'm honestly over it. I have LS stuff. I have LS's ready to go, a number of them that I can choose from, so I'm going to do that. In the meantime, though, I'm going to put plugs back in this thing. I'm going to drive it around like there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just not going to expect this big block lives very long. I am also going to take it down to that cars and bid chute. I'm going to hammer on this motor, and I'm going to not worry about it. I'm going to worry more about how much tread is left on my tires at the end of the day, and can I get home. I will need to buy new tires, so please go buy t-shirts. And speaking of t-shirts, Volkswagen guys, you're doing a great job buying a lot of t-shirts. I like that. Van guys, I wish I had looked this up before I started shooting this little outro, but there's one dude who bought a Van t-shirt right now, one dude. So you, my friend, stand strong. Somebody else bought a mug. I think a couple of mugs have gone. But in this voting system, the bug guys are way ahead. I've not counted the comment votes yet as to whether I should keep the bug or should keep the minivan, but bug guys are way ahead in t-shirt sales. Now, probably in a close second, pretty close to a tie actually, is option 3 t-shirt sale, which votes for me to get rid of both bug and minivan, which is the dad's pocket tee. A bunch of those are being sold too. So thank you everyone who has come through SaturdayGarage.shop and made your voice heard. And bought a t-shirt. I appreciate the heck out of it. For those of you who haven't, SaturdayGarage.shop, cast your vote. I'm either getting rid of the bug, or I'm getting rid of the minivan, or eventually, I mean really, not or eventually, I'm getting rid of both. In the meantime, put some plugs back in this thing, and I'm going to say this: Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Please go work on your own junk, and I will see you next week, where we're probably going to be doing panel stuff, because that is going to be my new 100% reliable daily. This is not it. All right, so I just came over here to set up this shot, you know, a nice little like across the cab kind of shot. I don't know if you can hear this over Lawnmower Man over there, but I opened the door. It just rained a whole bunch here, keep in mind. This poor truck has just been getting neglected and abused for so long. Just sitting in there. Terrible. Somebody adopt this truck for me. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it.